From one sports fan to another, hello, welcome to episode 11 of 933 Sports. I'm going to start this episode by just saying this. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, and that's especially true when you're talking about sports, because, if you listen to episode 10, I did say today's episode would be all NBA, and I do still want to cap off the episode talking about the NBA Finals. Still want to preview that before Game 1 tips off on Wednesday. However, two blockbuster trades went down in the NFL. I'm recording this on Monday afternoon, so as of the time of recording, the Myles Garrett trade is only about 4 hours old. The A.J. Brown's one's only about an hour or two old. Like, this stuff just broke. So I was at work, I checked my phone, I see Shefty's been busy, and I'm like, well, I already knew I was going to record, so kind of have to talk about this stuff. And I'm going to front end the episode with that, because I know a lot of people like my football stuff more than just once I get to the NBA stuff. If you want to listen to that, feel free. If you don't, you don't have to. It's whatever you want to do. So we're going to start off with the bigger of the two trades. I have it pulled up on my phone because there's a couple of just all the terms. I want to make sure I'm getting all my information right. So Myles Garrett is traded to the Los Angeles Rams for Jared Verse, a 2027 first-round pick, 2028 second-round pick, and a 2029 third-round pick. So a first next year, a second the year after that, a third the year after that, and then, of course, Defensive Rookie of the Year, or former Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jared Verse. So let's put it this way. There's a couple of things on the Rams end of it. So the Rams are doing the same thing they did the last time they won the Super Bowl, which basically is the equivalent of F them picks. We're just going to get everybody. Keep in mind they already traded for Trent flippin' McDuffie this summer, so, their defense is kind of insane, like their offense wasn't already. It's pretty obvious the Rams are immediately the best team in the NFL. They already were the betting favorites in Vegas to win the Super Bowl next year. I haven't looked at the odds, but I'm sure they are extremely heavy on the Rams. I do find it interesting when the schedule came out, the Rams had more primetime games than anybody. They had actually set a record for most primetime games scheduled for any team ever. And all the more reason to put them in primetime now, because they're going to be a heavy favorite going into the season. A lot of big names on both sides of the ball, guys to watch. For the first time in his career, Myles Garrett's going to get to play for a true contender, which is going to be very fun to watch, coming off that incredible performance he had last year, setting the sack record and getting Defensive Player of the Year. And yeah, the Rams are, if they stay healthy, you might as well just give them their rings now. I'm not going to go against the grain on this one. I know a lot of people are going to pick the Rams to win the Super Bowl. I know that's going to be the sexy pick, but on paper, why wouldn't you? You have the reigning MVP and the reigning Defensive Player of the Year on your team. You realize how insane that sounds when you say it out loud? The biggest award, MVP at quarterback and Defensive Player of the Year coming off the edge. That's insane. And then you have all pros littering the roster, whether it's, like I said, Trent McDuffie. On offense, you've got Puka and Devontae. Your offensive line grade. Your head coach is a Super Bowl winning, proven head coach. There is no reason, barring any significant injury, that this team is not in the Super Bowl, quite frankly. I know we say the NFC's deeper. I just said that on the last episode, how deep the NFC is comparatively. But even still, it's this is the closest thing we've seen to a true super team in a very long time. At this point, it's more a question of what's their record going to be. Because they are going to be loaded. It is going to be extremely difficult to beat them. I think that's pretty obvious. I will say, from a team building perspective, what really stuck out to me is it's like, wow, they've traded for all these guys on defense. And they're able to afford all of them, which is surprising, but not really. Because if you look at it, Matthew Stafford, he did just sign an extension that basically gives him like $50 million. It's a $50 million extension, I think is what I saw, if I saw that correctly. But it's still an extremely team-friendly deal. Extremely. And that's just it. Team-friendly quarterback deals are how you win Super Bowls now. Because look at recent history. You have this past Super Bowl, you had Drake May, who's on a rookie deal, against Sam Darnold, who's on a very team-friendly deal. High-level quarterback play that doesn't necessitate the big boy money means you can fill out your roster elsewhere and, actually contend. Because look at Josh Allen, look at Lamar Jackson, look at Dak Prescott. You start going down the list of these really highly paid quarterbacks that really don't have a ton of playoff success or, leave a lot to be desired. I mean, Allen's had playoff success, but the lack of a Super Bowl appearance is very glaring. They're eating up a lot of money. You can't build the roster around them. So you'd rather settle for okay quarterback play and then just get the cash inflow, have that to go fill out the roster elsewhere. Now, in the Rams case, Stafford's an elite quarterback. I mean, yeah, he just won the flipping MVP. And when you're talking about the Rams, like, cool, now it's the same thing, except now you have one of the top quarterbacks in the league doing that. And so, it's the same thing with Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts. I mean, you start running to... Now, Jalen Hurts has won a Super Bowl. That's actually kind of unfair. But you start running through the list of these guys that are making these big bucks money. I mean, you look at Trevor Lawrence. Like, once they sign that big contract, you're very restricted on what you can do from a roster building perspective. So it's a question of how cooperative does your quarterback want to be. Look at Mahomes. After they won their first Super Bowl, he became the first quarterback to make $50 million a year. But he signed a 10-year deal, every year getting paid $50 million. Now, they've reworked that contract 100 times since then, but he signed that contract knowing, yes, this resets the market now. It's going to be average quarterback play once the contract's up. However, I want to win. I want to have the space to be able to win and take a team-friendly deal. Brady did that for years. Kirk Cousins has made more money from contracts than Tom Brady did. And guess what? Brady took all those pay cuts so he could win. So that way they could fill out the roster. So that way they could go get him a weapon like Randy Moss. Or, or they could have those elite defenses that they had for years with Hightower or Vrabel. I mean, you just run through the list. So, huge props to the Rams for this trade. F them picks. I mean, seriously, if the Rams win the Super Bowl this year, I think Stafford just retires and goes out on top. I don't think they try to go back-to-back. I think it is very clear. It's very similar to the first time they won a Super Bowl. They just traded for everybody. They acquired... remember who was all on that team? Von Miller they traded for midseason. Odell Beckham, who actually just re-signed with the Giants today, and that is awesome. Makes my heart happy. But they had Odell, because he got hurt in the Super Bowl. They basically signed a bunch of guys. They're like, we have a legitimate shot. Let's just go all in. Chips on the table. Yay, we got the ring. Who cares if we only win 5 or 6 games the next 2 or 3 years? We'll just build it back up again. And guess what? Cool. And remember, it was a month ago we were trashing the Rams for drafting Ty Simpson. I was trashing the Rams for drafting Ty Simpson. I still am. I don't think they should have done that because I don't like Ty Simpson as a prospect. I stand by my take. But clearly, spending a first-round pick on a quarterback isn't, as much as everybody was like, why are you doing that at the time? It's like, well, where are their, especially now that they have Myles Garrett, it's like, where are their holes at? Like, maybe offensive linemen? That's it? Like, but they're a Super Bowl contender because nobody knows where the problem is, because there really isn't much of one. I don't know, it's an instant reaction that I'm kind of doing to it right now, and it's pretty obvious that, like, the Rams are going to be heavy favorites, and this is how you win. I mean, you look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was on the second year of his rookie contract. Jamar Chase was a rookie. That's the year they went to the Super Bowl, when they lost to the Rams. Because guess what? Joe Burrow was on a team-friendly deal, and now he's not. Jamar Chase isn't either, and that's hurting the Bengals. That's the problem they're dealing with. Yeah, you just go down the list of the past few years. Teams in the Super Bowl are on team-friendly contracts. It was Purdy before he got paid when the Niners made it. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. Jalen Hurts is getting more money now, but still, like. And then Mahomes. That's why the Chiefs have been so successful. Like, if you can get a discount relative to the quarterback's talent, which the Rams definitely are, it opens up a lot of what you're able to do in other areas, and we're seeing that on full display. And what's interesting is next offseason, all those quarterbacks drafted 2 years ago, Caleb, May, Jaden, Bo Nix, all 4 of them are eligible for an extension starting next offseason. That's where the fun begins, because what does that do to those teams, their cap space, and their ability to build a team? And I'm telling you right now, every single one of those general managers for those teams is watching the Rams, and all those agents for those players are also watching the Rams, and it's like, okay, how greedy do you want to be? Because if you've got the juice, you want your money, and you should, but ironically enough, the saying is, it's time to put your money where your mouth is. Do you really just want the most money possible, or do you want to win? Because really, you can't have both. You just can't. It's pretty obvious. I mean, Dak's the highest paid quarterback. You look at some of these other quarterbacks that are super highly paid, and they're just not getting the playoff success. Lamar holds out for these big contracts, and then he gets hurt, and the Ravens are done. I mean, as much as I love Josh Allen, God forbid he gets hurt this year, the Bills' season's over. So, I mean, Rams, same thing. If somebody gets hurt, their season's kind of kaput. But that's pretty much it. Like, Rams are really good. That's about all that needs to be said. That's kind of where it's at this point. On the Browns end of it, they get 3 picks for the next 3 years. They get a first next year. They just keep loading up on first-round picks, which I think is awesome. They're obviously in full rebuild mode. They actually get a impact player in Jared Verse. They'll have to renegotiate his contract here soon, but, get him off his rookie deal. But, hey, he's going to be – they got the cap space. They're not paying anybody else. So, and he's still a good player, so I don't think they mind giving him some good money. What I did find interesting is, they have 2 first-round picks next year now. 2, if not 3. I can't remember if they have 2 or 3. Regardless, they have the Rams pick. The Rams are going to be drafting late first round. That's not going to be a very valuable pick. That might as well be a second-round pick. The Browns are still going to be drafting high. But how high, who knows? Everybody's talking about next year's quarterback class. I think the Browns amassed all their first-round picks. They're going to use that pick, that first-round pick they got today. I'm calling my shot a year in advance. That first-round pick they got today will be used next year to trade up into the draft, most likely to select a quarterback. Because I don't think Shador's the long-term guy. And Deshaun Watson, obviously not. Like, they've been very vocal about how Todd Monken has already been very vocal about how poor that QB room is, which is very rare for a head coach to just be outing his guys like that. So that first-round pick they got today will be part of a trade to trade up in the draft next year, and they will probably be trading up to get a quarterback when they trade up. So which quarterback, who's to say, really will depend on how things go during the college football season. But that's my biggest takeaway from on the Browns end of it. And then that kind of brings us to the other trade. From the Browns, the team, to Brown, the person, A.J. Brown gets traded to the Patriots for a 2028 first and a 2027 fifth, which is really not a ton, especially because the first round pick isn't for not next year, but the year following. It's going to be a while. This trade had been in talks for months. Everybody kind of knew this was going to go down. The Patriots were heavily tied to A.J. Brown. Of course, Mike Vrabel was A.J.'s coach in Tennessee when Tennessee traded him away. That was a front office decision, not a Vrabel decision. Vrabel really likes A.J. Brown. Obviously, A.J. Brown is going to be the wide receiver 1, undisputably, in Foxborough, which is really what he wanted. Some questions have been getting called into, and it's, I'll start on the Eagles side of it. Like, it was pretty obvious for a while that relationship was untenable. Brown was complaining about targets and, just causing more trouble than he was worth. They have a bona fide 2 in Devonta Smith, who can easily be a 1 and now will be. They drafted Mekhi Lemon in the first round, who's going to probably be wide receiver 2 now. So how he got out in front of that, I praised him at the time. Makes as much sense now. And yeah, I don't think they'll miss A.J. Brown too much. I don't think it's going to really... I expected the Eagles to regress this year no matter what. I especially do now, even though I don't think it really changes the level of that regression that I already expected. And then on the Patriots side, yeah, I mean, they just made the Super Bowl, surprisingly to many, but they were just in the Super Bowl. They feel like they're not that far away. Wide receiver is a very real need for them. For the first time, it's going to be year 3, and, Drake May is going to have a true 1. And he didn't last year. And with how well he played last year without having a true number 1 wide receiver is pretty impressive. The fact that he's going to have one now, and, Josh McDaniels is probably already, foaming at the mouth, drawing stuff up to get that going. So the Patriots are going to be very, very happy. And they should be. They didn't have to give up much to get them. Want to take advantage of this window now before you do have to pay Drake May. And so, yeah, get him in the building, get him going. A.J. Brown is a Super Bowl champion because, he won that one last year with the Eagles. So you've got veteran leadership in the building. And, yeah, it'll be – I think it's best for all parties. A.J. Brown and the Eagles needed a divorce, and Patriots, there's connections there, and they have a need for him. So I don't think he'll be – I would be surprised if he's reading any books on the sideline this year. And if he is, well, then that says more about him than it does anything else at that point. But yeah, those were the 2 big trades in the NFL today. Got pretty wild. Like I said, the fact that they both happened within hours of each other after a couple of weeks, like really since the draft, there hasn't been much NFL stuff going on. And then for that to just all drop at once was pretty crazy. Like I said, for it to happen after the schedule release and everything else as well, kind of after major free agency stuff had died down. Really crazy to see. I mean, that Myles Garrett trade's the biggest trade of the offseason. So, yeah, I think it reevaluates a lot of people's opinions on what next season's going to look like. But I would hate to say it, but today I'm recording this on June 1st. Football's still... Start of the regular season, still a little over 3 months away, unfortunately, but lots of time and talk before then. Alrighty, so moving into the next part of the episode. Like I said, I originally wanted to devote this entire episode to the NBA, but NFL kind of disrupted those plans. But I did want to talk about the finals. This finals matchup is awesome. I am so excited. Wednesday night's game 1. Game 2's Friday night. Monday night game 3 in MSG is going to be electric, especially if the Knicks snag one of the first 2 games on the road. Yeah, I mean, first of all, the last time I did an episode, Game 7 had not yet been played between the Spurs and the Thunder. Congrats to the Spurs. They did it. Wemby in his first playoff run, that young team that could, is already in the NBA Finals. And I think it's best to start with Wemby when talking about this series because I'm just going to say it. Somebody else said this. Some other analyst said this, and they're absolutely right. I've seen unicorns. I've never seen Wemby. And, I will be objective about this. I'm a LeBron's the GOAT guy. I'll just out myself right now. And I stand by that. Obviously, nothing's changed on that. But if there is anybody in the league right now who could eventually be the GOAT, it would be Wemby. If you haven't watched him play, actually watch him, and I mean this, like, not just when the ball's in his hands, watch him defensively, like on a defensive possession. Just watch him. Don't watch anything else. Just watch him, and you will be able to see everything that's going on because he's involved in everything defensively for them. You have OKC, the best roster in the league, who makes a living off attacking the baskets, getting foul calls at the rim, and, just coming right at you. They are afraid to go in the paint because Wemby's there. Isaiah Hartenstein's doing that little floater like 10 times in a row, and he's hitting every one. It's kind of crazy. But he's doing it every time because he doesn't want to go anywhere near Wemby. And Wemby's the one tall, big man center who's not a complete liability on the perimeter as a defender. He's the one center that's not a liability on the perimeter offensively or defensively, and it's not just because he can shoot and he can actually, it's because he can move. He can stay with you defensively because he's so long and lanky, and then for the same reason, he's actually able to dribble and like move on the perimeter. He can basically dribble and move like a guard. I mean, he's able to post you up from the elbow. Most of these centers, it's like they're coming right at you. They're going downhill and throwing it on your head. Wemby can do that, but he can do that other stuff too. It's really insane how good he actually is. He is easily the greatest defensive player I've ever seen. Just what he does defensively is unmatched. And then offensively, once he gets going, if he gets going early, he's unstoppable. I mean, he is just a force, and he's the most fun player to watch in the league right now, for sure. And he is, honestly, especially if they win the chip, he might as well already be the face of the league. He definitely will be once LeBron, Steph, and all of them retire, because he's special, man. And I mean, if he wins his first ring in year 3, I mean, we've never seen that before, where a player that quickly, as the leader of his team, that young, just wins a title, especially in their first playoff run. Magic Johnson is like the only other example, and even then he still had Kareem. Kareem was pretty good. Obviously, Kareem got hurt in the 1980 finals, so, you can give more credit to Magic than you would think, but, Wemby, all his co-stars are basically the same age as him. I mean, you've got Castle, you've got Vassell, you've got, Dylan Harper. I mean, you've got De'Aaron Fox is like not as old as you think, and even then he hasn't even been playing that well in the playoffs. When he's healthy, he has not played well, so you can't even really count him. And then, Harrison Barnes is kind of the veteran leader off the bench. That's about it there. Of course, you still got Pop's fingers all over it as team president roles. Mitch Johnson's did a great job as coach, but Spurs are special, man, and that's the thing. They're going to be good for a while. I'm hesitant to call them the next dynasty because it's like we said the same thing about OKC last year, and then the Spurs come out this year, beat them in the conference finals, and it's like, well, shoot, are the Spurs going to be it? And we thought the Celtics 2 years ago were going to be the next dynasty, but then injuries and trades and stuff, like, who knows? Like, I think we're running into a prisoner of the moment thing with the whole dynasty talk with a lot of these, with the NBA right now. And so I'm going to enjoy this series for what it is, especially if the Spurs win the finals. I think it would be likely that they would be the next dynasty, but my thing is that it's like we're going to be seeing a lot of Spurs Thunder in the playoffs the next couple of years. This is not the last time these two teams and these two iterations of these teams run into each other, because it's going to be a lot like Warriors Rockets or something like that from a couple of years ago, like, Miami and Boston, like LeBron's Heat against, Garnett's Celtics, like those types of where these teams start seeing each other a little bit more. And, maybe one team does dominate, but you have to beat them to get there. And it'll be fun to watch every one of those. And then out of the Eastern Conference for the finals, for the first time since '99, get the New York Knicks. And I got to admit, it's going to be fun. I mean, New York's whatever. I haven't been there personally. I can't speak to it, but I know we often trash the big markets, but it's like, guys, the Knicks are such a big brand, and they have not been good in my lifetime. I mean, even in the Melo days, it's like they were fun and exciting, but they weren't this. I mean, Jalen Brunson is just crafty, shifty, fun. Got Cat down low, who's looked way better defensively, which has helped a ton. Just glue guys and Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges. I mean, their roster's stacked too. And, NBA Finals basketball at Madison Square Garden. You can't beat it. Can't beat it. That's why I think Game 3 I'm just so excited for, because I just want to see that atmosphere. You'll have it coming through the TV, and you will in San Antonio as well. I mean, they've got a very passionate fan base. So that's the biggest thing is you've got the markets, you've got the stars, you've got the passionate fans. I mean, Adam Silver is, I know this is crass, Adam Silver's creaming his pants right now because he is so excited for these finals. But to be fair, I'm excited too. I work tomorrow and Wednesday, and then I'm off Thursday, Friday. Guess what? Wednesday night, I get to come home, pour myself a drink, and watch Game 1, and I am so excited to watch it because it is going to be insane. Game 1 in San Antonio. I will say this. The Knicks, I don't like Cat's chances against Wemby. I think the Spurs defensively, their guard tandem's going to overwhelm Brunson. Overwhelm might not be the best way of saying it, but overwhelm in the sense that he's just not going to put up the same numbers we're used to seeing. And I think that's just true from the entire Knicks roster. I think the Spurs, they're younger, more athletic, and I think that's what's surprising a lot of people in these playoffs, and I think that's why they've had so much success, is they're young and athletic, and they can just throw you off. And so my prediction is Spurs in 6. That's my prediction. I do think they get the job done, and Wemby gets his first ring in his first playoff run. And rest of the league beware, because the alien is here. The Knicks, I'm also just rooting for the Spurs. I think I'd rather see them win it, honestly. I don't need to see New Yorkers. I'd rather see the other side of the New York explosion. New York's going to explode whether the Knicks win or lose, but it would be more fun to see it explode just because they lost. As somebody who lives in Texas, I would vastly prefer that. But, it will be a great series regardless. I expect it to be very competitive, very physical. Thankfully, we're not dealing with OKC's foul baiting bullshit anymore. And also, I saw this yesterday. We're putting the Larry O'Brien trophy back on the courts at center court for the finals. And the NBA's posting about it like, oh, holy throwback, and like, oh, look at this cool thing that's going on. I'm like, no, I'm not giving you a gold star for doing the bare minimum, which is honestly a larger problem with the NBA in general. For the past couple of years especially, like, the fans been asking, give it more aura, give it more gravitas, make things matter more, and stuff like putting the finals logo on the court for the finals is the bare minimum. The bare minimum. And they haven't done it, so you don't get a gold. I'm not going to get excited when you do it because I've been asking for this, and you've done it in the past. You're not doing it this year. Like, what are we doing? I was going to talk about flopping and stuff today. I think that's a different conversation. It's BS. We all know it. We need to rule change there a little bit. But yeah. The finals are going to be fantastic, and I'm really, really excited to watch it. Like I said, Spurs in 6 is my prediction. So, obviously, if the Spurs win the finals, Wemby will be the finals MVP. I will say there's no scenario where the Spurs win and Wemby's not finals MVP. Like, it's pretty obvious. I mean, it was pretty obvious against OKC. Like, every game that the Spurs won, Wemby had to have a great game. Especially outside of Game 7, all 3 of the games that they won, he had to, like, really, really play out of his mind. I mean, Game 1, he he had a Wilt Chamberlain stat line in Game 1. It was absolutely insane. I watched it. It was nuts. But yeah, it'll be a fun series. I'm looking forward to watching it. Thank you to those of you that watched today's episode. And yeah, we will be back on Friday. Like I said, I will talk Sorsby. I don't want to commit to anything else yet because who knows? I just made that mistake. I don't need to make it again so soon. So, signing off for now. Adios. Have a great rest of your day.